Step 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Good judgment, a careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. These are the qualities I shall need when I take step 9. I don't know anything about these things. A good sense of timing. I have a good sense of timing how to ruin stuff in the old character. A good sense of timing how to do stuff, that's going to be some new character stuff. I'm going to ask for some guidance. When's the right time? How am I going to do this? When am I going to do this? Courage. The man that showed me the 4th step out of the big book, that big book, Awakenings, 4th step, he said something that I thought was really interesting. He said that he didn't find his higher power in step 2. He found his higher power in step 9. Because in step 9 he had to do something that he couldn't do on his power. He couldn't go to an enemy and say what he did wrong and be willing to make amends on his own power. So he would sit in his car and he would pray to something to help him to go do the amends. And that's where he found his higher power. And I thought that's really cool. That I never really looked at step 9 that way. Because what I was shown is you find your higher power in step 2. You start in step 2. But in looking back, I could see, yes, I did go deeper in trusting and relying on my higher power in step 9 and having courage. Courage from a power greater than myself. I was given the courage to do things that I cannot do on my own unaided will. Because if I could, I might have done it earlier. I might have gone and made amends. It talks about, somebody asked about how do you make amends to people that are dead, and it talks about I make a beginning of making certain kinds of amends the day that I join AA. Because I'm no longer drunk and having drunken behavior and wreaking havoc on the family and the workspace and the drivers and the hospitals and the rest of the people that I come in contact with because of my alcohol and because of my drinking life. So immediately upon entering AA, I start to make amends, living amends. And I get to be a living amend maker going forward. In this new way of life. And I have my list. And I become willing. And then the list, technical step 9 stuff, you got a list. So you go back through the list. And you write a 1, 2, or 3 next to the names. Or you make cards. And you write each resentment, each harm that you did in the person you harmed on a card. And you make a pile. And you got a pile of amends I'm going to make right away. Amends I'm not ready to make right now, but I'm going to make them one day. I'm not willing yet. And then a pile of amends that you can never make because people have passed away or because you just don't think you're ever going to be able to make them. And those are your piles. Now, those piles can change, and they will change over time. But it's good to have a pile of amends that I can make right away so I can get out there and get started making amends as a way of life in step 9. So I can start making them and start getting that connection with another human being. And it's an amazing thing that happens in step 9. I go to my enemy and I tell them what I did. And there's instructions. I go to them and I tell them, I'm in AA. I'm an alcoholic with alcoholism. I've done some things in my past that I need to clear up. And I'd like to tell you what I think, the harms that I think that I've done to you. And then I would like to make amends for those harms. And I tell them what I did. And when I'm done, I ask them, This is what I think I did to harm you. Is there anything I left out? And then I listen. And I don't talk about their side at all. And I let them tell me what else it is that I did. And if there are things, I write them down. And then I tell them what I'm willing to do to make amends. And I ask them, I ask them, is there anything you would like me to do to make amends for these harms that I've done? And most people say, no, the fact that you're sober is enough. And so I have to have an idea for every person on that list that I'm going to make an amends for. This is how I did it. You don't have to do it this way. But I had to have an idea of what I was going to do for that person to actually make amends. It wasn't going to be, I'm sorry. What am I going to add? What am I going to do? How much money am I going to pay? How much am I going to be able to pay each month to pay off those amends? And I had an amends where I wrote a letter to Breeze Ski Rental because I couldn't go there in person. And I once rented skis, boots, and poles with my family, and my family went back home early. And when they gave them the skis, the ski place thought that they'd checked in all the skis. And I had my skis, boots, and poles because I stayed out a couple extra days. And my father said, your skis are checked in. You don't have to return them if you don't want to. And you know, my relationship with my father, I thought that man is going to think I'm weak and stupid if I return those skis. I knew that returning them was the right thing. But I kept those skis. But I can't blame it on him. I don't even know what he said. He might have said, all the skis are checked in, but bring yours back when you go back. And I might have heard him say, you need to steal those skis if you want to prove to me you're a man. I can't tell you for sure what happened. But I know for sure that I decided to keep those skis. I decided to keep them. And I'm the guy that did the stealing. And so I wrote them a letter. I called them and I said, hey, they gave me some guy that they thought would be the right guy to talk to. And I said, listen, when I was younger, I stole a pair of skis, boots, and poles. I'd like to pay for them. How much would a rental pair of skis, boots, and poles cost? And he says, oh, we're just happy you're sober. Thank you. It's all been written off already. We don't know anything about it. Thank you. And goodbye. And he hung up on me. And that didn't sit right with me. So I went to a ski rental shop and I asked them how much skis, boots, and poles would cost. And I wrote a letter every month to Breeze Ski Rental for $25. And I sent them the checks. I think they cashed them. I never really checked. But every month I wrote them. And when it was done, I was clean. And every time I went snow skiing, I didn't think about what a crappy person I was and how I stole those skis. And I had done my amends, and I was free of that guilt and shame and remorse and blaming my dad. I was free of all of it because I made the amends. Did Breeze Ski Rental need my $25 a month? I don't think so. I don't think it changed anybody's life over there, but it changed my life forever. And that's what making these amends is about. It's about changing my life. Yes, the other person's life gets better. Yes, I make some monetary amends. And I do some work for other people to put them back and make them whole. But my life gets better because of it. And I get freer and freer and freer, where I get to walk this planet, and now there's nobody I owe an amends to. Now, there are some people. There are some people that smoke e-cigarettes that I owe an amends to. And I'm aware of that. But I'm so clean today that I can go anywhere and I can look you in the eye. And I'm not ashamed of who I am anymore. I'm not ashamed of all the stuff I stole. I'm not ashamed of all the relationships I've trashed. I'm not ashamed of the things I've done behind your back. And I'm not having to make new amends very often. think that's it. This is a question for 9 or 8 or for 9? Okay. If you guys have any more questions. Randy, I have not done this. Let's say a guy slept with his friend's wife. Oh, let's not say that. I'm just reading the question. How does one make direct amends to his friend? Yeah, that's not really that's a living amends that you're going to have to make, and you're going to have to live with that. You know, I had an experience like that, but worse. God. I talked about it the other night. I'm not going to say it on a CD. This is not my place to do my fifth step or my ninth step. If we turned it off, I'd be happy to talk about it, but I can't make amends if it's going to harm others. But there's stuff I can do. There's ways that I can get clean and I can get right with my Creator around some bad behavior that I've done. And I'm going to have to talk to my sponsor, and I'm going to have to look inside, and I'm going to have to really ask myself, what could I do? And ask my power, what would you have me do? What could I do to make this right without hurting anybody? And if I do that long enough, the right answers will come. That's in step 11. When I face indecision, I pause and I ask God for the right thought or the right inspiration. I don't struggle. I take it easy. And the right answers come after I have tried this for a while. Might not come the first time. Might not come the 10th time. Might take a while. But if I continue on this path and I go for it, one day you'll be sitting there and all of a sudden, boing. Oh my God, that's so simple. Why didn't I think of that before? And it'll be a beautiful amends. And you'll be able to be done with it. How do you move past step 9 when some of the people you need to make amends to are dead? Or if you can't find them, yeah. Well, I'm making a decision to not behave the way that I've behaved in the past as building this new character. And I'm going out into the world to be the man that this power wants me to be today instead of the man that I want to be. And so I'm asking this power what I can add. What can I add? What can I bring to this experience? What can I do for the people around me? And instead of creating calamity everywhere I go, I have an opportunity to bring serenity where I go. And you know, people sense that. When there's somebody in the room that's being honest and open and connected, there's a sense that something's different in that room and something happens. And I get changed. I know there were a lot of men I would walk into the room and I just know they knew. And because they knew, I felt comfortable. And I get to build a new character where that my life affects people in a positive way instead of a negative way, and I'm making amends wherever I go. Hopefully. I'm either making amends or I'm making enemies, right? As a way of life, as a new character. That's what AA is about. It's not we haven't talked about drinking for a long time. It hasn't even like drinking? Really? This is about living a way of life where drinking isn't necessary. It's not about not drinking. It's about a way of life where drinking isn't necessary because my life is getting so good now, the last thing I'd want to do is take a drink. And so I'm getting to be a new character, and the days get better and better. And the people in my life get better and better. And my wife says the most amazing things to me in my house. I don't sit in my car dreading going into my house. at the end of the day, I can't wait to get in there and see my family. That's amazing to me. Is it okay to take my sponsor with me when I'm on an amends trip? Especially if you think the guy you're going to make amends to has a gun. No, you know what? A sponsor is a step guide. I'm the step doer. The only way I'm going to find a power that I can trust and rely on is if I go and do the things that my sponsor suggests I do. If I take my sponsor, I'm trusting and relying on my sponsor for my life. And some people do that. And some sponsors like sponsoring like that. There are men that like to tell their sponsors how to live every aspect of their life. My sponsor never told me what to do. He never said, Randy, do this. He made suggestions. And he always first started with, have you talked to God yet? And he would make suggestions, but I had to go do it. And step 9 is, I'm building a new character. Not me and my sponsor, and not my sponsor. He can't do it. No human power can relieve my alcoholism. God could and would if He were sought right now. Leave your sponsor in the car with the gun. What if someone wants to make amends to you, but you know they're still full of it? You know, how do you know? How do you know they're still full of it? Who told you they're still full of it? Who's telling you that they're not sincere? Is it alcoholism? Is it resentment? Is it old character? Or did the power say he's full of it? Did you go to God and say, is he sincere? And even if he isn't, why would I want to stop somebody from trying? But making amends isn't saying I'm sorry. And if a person is insincere, they are not going to do what's necessary to make your life better. They're just going to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And people make sincere amends saying, I'm sorry, because they don't know what making amends are, because they haven't been shown. So a lot of people think that making amends is saying, I'm sorry, and a lot of sponsors say that, to go out and apologize to everyone on your list. I've already apologized to them 10 or 15 times over the course of my lifetime. I'm going to go apologize again. How is that different? How is that going to build a new character? I've done that drunk and sober. So,
any more there?
I think that's
one
it.
here.
One more there?
One right here.
How do I not take back the guilt I've had or have after I make living amends in relationships? I'm never going to be perfect. That's what my sponsor told me. He says, Randy, you're an alcoholic with alcoholism. You're never going to be perfect. I still step on the toes of my wife and she retaliates. I still turned on her because she made a mistake about her cell phone. I'm not perfect. I'm living the best I can in a relationship with my higher power. I don't think God wants me to be perfect. If He did, He wouldn't have given me free will. I'd be like the whales. When it's wintertime, they are intuitively guided to swim. And they swim. The whales don't hang out in Alaska. One winter, they don't just decide, I'm tired this year, I'm not going to swim. I'm just staying here. They just go. They don't have free will. The birds fly south for the winter. The universe works perfectly wherever man isn't. But for some reason, God gave me free will free of God, so that I could be so that I could do something with God, so that I could create with God something. It's only when I do my will on my own that I get trouble. And I'm not always going to be with God because I have free will. And I have a disease that tells me I need to please self and I need to do it now. And I hear it and I think it's right this time. And I do it. And that's just the way it is. I'm never going to be perfect. So I'm going to make mistakes. Hopefully, I'm not making them too often in my home. And hopefully, the man that I am most of the time is the man she wants to be with, as opposed to a man she can't stand and wants to throw out. And so when I do make mistakes, I can make amends. I buy a lot of flowers in my house. I bring home flowers because saying I'm sorry is not as powerful as coming home with a bouquet of flowers that I actually drove somewhere and got. And I write cards. And I get gifts. And I call her in the middle of the day just to tell her I love her. Just because. Because I know that'll make her feel good. And I live in a way of life where when I do fall, she doesn't kick me when I'm down. Because when she falls, I usually don't kick her when she's down. And I am forming true partnerships with other human beings as a result of 12 steps as a way of life. I am building a new character. I am awakening the spirit. I don't know if I'm building a new character, but a new character is being built through the application of the steps. It's like I work the steps and the steps work me, and somehow going through it like that, I'm healed. In this moment right now, in this relationship with the power right now, I'm 100% recovered from alcoholism right now in this moment. And then I'm at the turning point again. Where am I going to go? But I believe that I'm 100% completely healed in this moment right now. And that's what's possible as I clear all this wreckage of my past away. And now my mind is quiet. And the shame and the guilt has been taken care of. Not because I went to a psychiatrist and I learned where I went wrong and now I don't act that way anymore. But because I actually went back and made amends. I actually went back and fixed the things that I broke. And my life is whole. I made it whole. The power and I together. There's a part for me to play. Obviously, in making amends, I can see the part that there's a part I got to play, and I don't like it. I don't want to make your life right, and I'm building humility in that building because the only way I'm going to possibly be able to make amends is if I have a power greater than me that can enable me to do the things I can't do on my own power. So that's what's being offered. Thank you for listening to me.